Tanjiro Kamado is brought into this world, and on top of that, he has to deal with, well, let's just say a traditional lifestyle. A traditional lifestyle in this world is kind of helping your family out where you can, living in a very kind of simple way, but he always tries to go up and beyond what he normally would do. But when he was young, at a young age, he would read these books about this so-called God that once existed. This deity, you could call it, that existed that really counterbalanced the idea of creation and destruction. There was two different gods, some of creation and some, or one, of destruction. And that god's, well, whole purpose was to do one thing, to counterbalance the act of creation and make sure that there isn't more creation than destruction. And this balance was something that Tanjiro basically read about quite a bit through various different books, various different kind of different passages and stuff like that. Nothing he really understood, even to an extent he thought it was made up, but one day when things would start to crumble, he would start realizing that it's not actually made up. Because Tanjiro, well, himself would actually seek out to help his family outside of his home, which he would head off to a village, sell some coal, but when he would come back, he would see that his whole family was torn to shreds. His whole family was destroyed. And as this happens, as this occurs, he would begin to go through his own head. What does he do? What's going on? Surely he has to be able to save someone here. Maybe someone's alive still. And then he hears a breath from his little sister, Nezuko. He picks her up, runs her off, and before you know it, she would wake back up as a demon and attack him. And yes, before you know it as well, Giyu Tomioka would come out of nowhere to help him as well. But here's the thing. His sister, being a demon, Giyu wants to just end the fight right then and there. But Tanjiro tells him that his sister, please don't do this, and blah, 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 all this stuff. And eventually, well, he would decide to actually allow Tanjiro to not lose his sister. But the way he does it is in a different way. He would have Tanjiro race toward him, trying to stop him, as Tanjiro would set up an attack where the hatchet that he had would get thrown into the air. And, well, he wouldn't even notice it, or Giyu wouldn't notice it until last second, dodging the axe. And as the hatchet would hit the tree behind him, the tree itself would disintegrate. And this would shock Giyu to his core, making him wonder what and who this person truly is. Who or what can Tanjiro Kamado really do? Because this doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense at all. It doesn't make sense that he's able to actually do this. It doesn't make sense that he's able to create something of such crazy kind of event that would lead to him, or lead to literally destroying, or lead to basically destroying an entire tree in a matter of a split second. And this would shock him. He would lose it. He would be thinking, this is ridiculous. This is insane. This doesn't even make sense. Like, seriously, how did he do this? In which, of course, Tanjiro doesn't even really know. He's out cold, actually, for the moment. Eventually leading him to actually being kind of, awakened next to Giyu and his own sister. And, of course, Tanjiro would kind of get this chance to ask him what's going on, what's happening, and all this other stuff. And Giyu Tomioka basically tells him that if he wants to keep his sister safe and all this stuff, he needs to go train. Train with the power that he just portrayed and showed, in which Tanjiro has no idea what he's talking about. And he tells Tanjiro exactly what happened, about what occurred and how the tree itself just disintegrated into nothingness. And this would shock Tanjiro, but he would think about it, and think about it really, really, really closely. Then he would realize it's so similar to that thing he was reading, to those stories, those legends of something known as the god of destruction. He doesn't know how it's happening or what's going on, but he realizes that it must be kind of put together through the usage of loss. And he lost his family except for Nezuko, and maybe the combination of quote unquote destruction or loss, including with the creation, the act of creation with, you know, a literal demon being created, allowed him to awaken the powers that were within, the powers that he had that nobody, not even himself, truly knew about. And eventually Tanjiro would hold on to this idea closely and take Nezuko to this nearby mountain in search of Urokodaki, because the whole plan for Giyu Tomioka is to send Tanjiro off to actually train with his former master. Before you know it though, he would encounter a temple demon. But as Tanjiro and Nezuko would be facing off with this demon, they would have a very easy time, for the most part, keeping up, leading to Tanjiro actually landing a hit. And as he lands this hit, it actually disintegrates the part of the body that the demon, or that the axe or the hatchet actually hits, in which Urokodaki is watching from afar, wondering and thinking what this kid is really all about. He got a message from Giyu Tomioka, and he was told something similar about this weird, odd, and interesting power that he's able to use. But the fact that he's utilizing it in such a way, he doesn't understand it. He doesn't understand that he's able, or how he's able to do such an amazing thing, or to the level that he's truly doing it. But still, not Izuku, my apologies, Urokodaki would be watching Tanjiro, as Tanjiro would even defeat the demon, and Urokodaki would come out of nowhere to tell him that it's time for them to truly start his training, because it's obvious that his preparation, or whatever he did to prepare, has put him ahead of the curve. In which right there, that is the complete and utter truth. But when Tanjiro starts actually trying to learn water breathing, soon it's pretty obvious that there's nothing for him to learn. At least in terms of he's not actually able to utilize water breathing at all. It's a completely different style, but he tells Tanjiro to focus solely on destruction, to really, really absorb within it. Only think about destruction. Don't think about how people are feeling. Don't think how the demons may feel. Don't think about a single thing. Only think of destroy. In which he tells him this is the principle that is known from legends as the Hakai. And he basically explains this to Tanjiro briefly, not really knowing much about it himself, but eventually with all the training, Tanjiro would then unleash his first form, called Ruinous Impact, as he would just charge a slash immediately, a slash that would even send shockwaves from long range that would allow any cuts to begin the process of the Hakai, or the process of disintegration. And as he does this, as he slices and dices toward different boulders, as one slice would cut through, the top and bottom half would slowly disintegrate from the actual point of attack. But all Tanjiro has is that one singular impact. All he has is that one singular form, but frankly, that's all he needs for now. The training would ensue for months on end, and Tanjiro would even actually train with the spirits of Sabito and Makomo. But after all this training is said and done, and after they put a giant boulder in front of him that he cuts through with relative ease, especially with the fact that he could straight up destroy it and disintegrate it if he so chose to do so, he has no issues dealing with it the way he believes he needs to needs to deal with it. And leading into the final selection, Tanjiro would have very similar things occur. Tanjiro would see very quickly that his level in terms of skill, or at least in terms of power, is far greater than every demon that charges forward at him, and he begins to instill fear in every single one of them, walking through the forest as the demons would run in his wake. And eventually, when he comes across the hand demon, and the hand demon talks all of this trash to him, eventually Tanjiro would be right in front of him, slicing and dicing him in one slice, though, leading to the absolute incineration, or really the disintegration of the demon itself. And the demon is in shock, wondering how this happened. It didn't even feel like he cut off his neck. It felt like he hit him elsewhere, and it still didn't matter, corrupting and hakkaiing his entire body. This would shock him, and he wouldn't even be able to react to it, as he's already gone and in the dust. And a lot of these other demon slayers that normally don't pass actually pass, because Tanjiro is able to help and slay a large amount of the demons in a very quick succession. Eventually, though, he would be finished off with all of the kind of demons and surviving throughout the final selection. And after it is all said and done, he would head off to basically get his Nichirin ore. And as he goes there, he sees another guy by the name of Genya. And this Genya fellow actually is pretty aggressive and really even starts hurting the kind of instructors for the final exam. And Tanjiro puts this to an end quickly, even breaking the arm of Genya, excuse me. And this is when everyone's like, whoa, this guy means business. And even Kanao is watching this and wonders what he really is capable of, especially when they didn't hear anything about it. They didn't hear not a single thing. They didn't hear a single thing about what occurred, or they didn't hear a single thing about kind of what happened or what's going on and stuff along those lines. They didn't hear anything about who this guy is. Where did he come from? But Tanjiro is making waves already, and Kanao, well, let's just say, sends off information pretty quickly to Shinobu about what this guy, or what this demon slayer potentially can actually do. And this right here is something that needs to be put in the back of their minds, because the fact is, this is not something that is normal. This is not something that every single person can do, and it seems like he continues to develop stuff that many other people just have no clue or how they exactly work. This would eventually lead to Tanjiro obviously kind of heading off to his own kind of missions and stuff like that, as he would get a box for Nezuko, and also he would meet with Urokodaki one last time, obviously going back to Mount Sagiri. After going back there and after getting prepared, eventually he would get his blade and he would embark or disembark from Urokodaki and head off to his first mission. Being that his first mission is to take down the Swamp Demon, a demon that basically continues to kidnap people after people, and mostly women. But when it strikes night, the Swamp Demon would come out of nowhere and try to attack, but before he even lands a blow on Tanjiro would stare at him with his sword ready, and it seems as if the Swamp Demon is stuck, can't move, and doesn't want to move. Whatever he's seeing, whatever he sees here in front of him, and whatever is happening, he doesn't know what's going on. He has no idea, but all he feels is this terrifying feeling. This terrifying feeling that is running through the blood that pumps through his veins. He doesn't know what's going on, but every move that Tanjiro makes, every single step he takes, it seems as if every single one rings out louder and louder. Tanjiro would walk up to him and would slice the head off in one foul swoop, and then would tell the demon that this right here is his end, telling him in one foul swoop that he is gone, and he would disintegrate, destroy, and be destroyed entirely. And Tanjiro would sheath his sword, and he would tell the village that they are now safe. But even the Swamp Demon didn't know what to do, couldn't even move, couldn't even react, and really, in the face of Tanjiro Kamado, there was no way, there was no chance, there was nothing to be done, and he basically took his own end just without even any struggle, without even any kind of, without any like pushback, without anything. And he just knew that it was over. Obviously Tanjiro doesn't know what he was seeing or what was going on, but it seems like it's something they fear so greatly, because it seems as if balance will soon kind of continue forward. And Tanjiro, well, when he heads off to investigate the city that never sleeps, and he would come face to face with Muzan Kibusuji, well, let's just say Muzan's fear could be written all over his face, because he realizes what this is. He can tell that he's a young kid, a young demon slayer that has not mastered his powers and has not really awakened an even greater potential that he has. But he can tell there's something about him. There's an aura about him, an aura that makes it so terrifying, an aura that is even greater than bloodlust itself. He doesn't know what it is. He doesn't know where it came from, but he knows that it stands in front of him, and all he can do is just act as if nothing's happening, and all he can do is just leave. He basically makes a demon show up, or creates a demon out of a human immediately, and gets out of there pretty quickly, as Tanjiro would slice through that said demon, ending it almost instantaneously and being done with it in a matter of one foul swoop. Eventually, a meeting with Lady Tamayao and Yushiro would ensue, and Muzan would send demons after him, Susumaru and Yahaba, to see what level he truly is at, to see if he can really stand up to some demons that are a little bit higher in strength. Now, before they arrive, there's a conversation that is made with Lady Tamayao and Yushiro, and also Tanjiro, about curing Nezuko. But on top of that, there's also a conversation about Tanjiro himself, about his powers, what he can do, and what he's truly capable of. And now the conversation is somewhat short, but Lady Tamayao says through her extensive research, she has heard of something like this, like a phenomenon of some sorts. And this phenomenon is the kind of upbringing of a destructive kind of model, or a destructive kind of person that inhabits the powers of the god of destruction. The idea for a long time was that things would die, things would live, things would come back, and things would die once again. But since Muzan started creating demons, things that would live forever, it seemed to change the balance of things drastically. Yes, did they eat humans? Of course. But there have always been casualties no matter what, even outside when demons never existed in the first place. But at the end of the day, there are not enough casualties to truly make up for the creation of demons, the creation of fiends that live what is forever, well, if they're not careful, if they're not okay. And, well, at the end of the day, it seems as if these creations of demons continues to alter the balance, and Tanjiro is that balance. And Lady Tamayao tells him this, and that is just a theory, but it is a thought that needs to be really taken seriously. And Tanjiro would then hear the two demons, Susumaru and Yahaba, approach from the outside, and it seems like this is more of a test to see if the one and only Tanjiro is that strong and that capable. And before you know it, Muzan would see through the eyes of them what he can truly do, because in one foul swoop, in one kind of slash through, in one singular form that he now has added to his arsenal, well, he would slash on through, utilizing his second form called Collapsing Fang. And as he does this, as he strikes through them, kind of like in a spiral-like motion, he would then crush both of the enemies next to each other, and together they would slowly but surely dissipate, and he wouldn't even slash through their necks, as their bodies would dissipate, and soon the destruction and the Hakai would overcome them for the most part, and it would be completely disintegrated. And after all of that, after those two demons tried their best, well, not try hard enough, obviously, to defeat Tanjiro, Muzan now knows that this kid, this person, this demon slayer is someone that needs to be handled, is someone that needs to be ended, but not just yet. Tanjiro would head off on his next mission after getting information from Lady Tamayao about how to cure Nezuko, about what they're going to do, and how he's going to have to kill and get blood from the 12 Kizuki. And as Tanjiro would then leave and meet Zenitsu for the first time, he would yell at him, telling him to get away from the girl and that they have more to get into and more to finish, because there's more things that need to be handled. And that would include going off to this mansion to help these two little kids find their brother. And when Tanjiro first encounters Kyogai, all he's thinking about in his own head is destroy. Destroy, destroy, destroy. And all he does is focus on that regard. He would immediately slash through, obviously, Kyogai. And as he slashes through him, as he would absolutely obliterate him, Tanjiro would get his opportunity to stab him in the leg and take some of his own blood. And when Inosuke would arrive, Inosuke would be in shock to see that the demon that was here was handled in such a beautiful sequence, but also such a easy sequence. He doesn't understand how, but he tells Tanjiro that they need a fight, that he wants to prove that he's stronger by beating him. And Tanjiro looks at Inosuke, and his look alone makes Inosuke stand down, leading to them running through the rest of the mansion, destroying and killing a lot of these other demons, and eventually leading them to leaving the mansion itself. And Tanjiro would pick up his box before any kind of situation would occur with Inosuke and himself, and he would tell him that they need to protect this box, protect his little sister, and tells them what it is, or what is going on, and who she is, explaining that she is a demon, but she is not like any other demon. And if they have an issue with it, well, then they can take it up with him. In which Tanjiro's aura itself would tell the whole story, as they would see this and they would immediately stand down. They would not think like, you know what, well, yeah, we could take you. No. They would stand down, because Tanjiro himself, he shows like, yeah, this is definitely not your fight, and definitely not your kind of your thing to get into. And he basically shows them like, you better chill out type of moment, especially toward Inosuke. Now, obviously, Zenitsu, he's very tame to the point of like, you know, he's not going to try to kill the demon within the box, but Inosuke initially had intentions to do so. But of course, this would then lead them to actually getting a little bit of downtime, where Tanjiro, all he does is read and try to figure out a little bit more about what he can do and what's really going on. Like, what is happening in terms of kind of what he's capable of and what he can do with his destruction breathing, and how it works to a certain extent. Because this is questions that he really wants to know, questions that he really has been thinking about, because at the end of the day, he doesn't know that much about it, but he knows that it's powerful, and he knows that he's the one that's supposed to put things back into the balance of the universe. And this would include the disintegrating and getting rid of the demons that still are here, the demons that are still awoken. So he wants to make sure that he shuts them down, and wants to make sure that these demons are handled to a large degree. And the next day, when they would get another mission, one at a mountain nearby, Natagumo Mountain, this would be his opportunity, his chance to shut down or a high-level demon, in fact. And he could tell there's something about a demon who has large amounts of blood from the source of Muzan. It tells him where he is, as if he's seeking after it. He does leave Zenitsu behind, being that Zenitsu's kind of like, you know, fearful and stuff like that. And he just tells him like, hey, if you're going to come, you're going to come. If you're not, you're not. So I'm going to head up and handle my business. And as he heads up, he could tell, as if he could smell or even sense the kind of like the person or the demon that is there. He can sense the demon that is really the overarching demon, the one that is actually a part of the 12 Kizuki. And that right there is what Tanjiro is looking for. He would see that there's other demons, demon slayers that may need help. And in one foul swoop, well, he would handle everything. He would handle the spider kind of woman demon, handling that very quickly. He would handle every other demon that shows up, and even kind of take out help all the demon slayers that are trapped within the webbing. And as all this is handled, and as finally he would get his chance to face off with Rui would stand there and he could see something. He sees something that isn't supposed to be true. He sees initially the actual kind of the actual memories of Muzan, the memories of Yorichi. But another thing that he sees, another thing that he didn't want to see, was not only the memories of Yorichi, but the memories of an otherworldly being, a being that seems to thrive and want destruction, a being that is built for destruction, a being that seemingly is only focused on that specifically. And that right there is something that is so damn terrifying, leading to Rui unleashing everything at him. Every last little bit, his blood demon art and everything, he would send it all buck wild. And as it would immediately smack against Tanjiro, as it would actually head his way and hit him, Tanjiro could feel it stop at his body and eventually feel it be entirely destroyed. He found another way to utilize his own powers, his own abilities, and one of those ways is to literally enjoy the feat of destruction, to the point where he forces any ability to destroy on him on contact. And this right here is something that is unbelievable, something that, in all honesty, vast amounts of other demons would fear forever, because this means you can't even touch him as long as his mindset is for destruction. And that right there is not something that the demons would like to hear. And that right there is not something the demons truly believe will be anything they can deal with. And Rui is just one singular example that Tanjiro is going to show, an example that that demons and all this and their reign of terror, well, it's coming to an end. And the reign of terror of Muzan's demons and everything he's created so far comes to an end right here and right now. Well, at least proof of it is shown right here and right now. And as Muzan can sense these things happening, as Muzan's thinking to himself that he doesn't understand how this even occurred, well, one thing he doesn't understand is that he played with the balance of destruction and creation too much. He got greedy with creating and got greedy with what he wanted. He wanted to live forever. He wanted to be truly immortal. And now, well, let's just say, now it's going to be a reason why his potential end will come sooner rather than later. Now, with all that said, though, he then defeats Rui, defeats the demon that is of the Natagomo Mountain, and eventually would meet up with not only Giyu Tomioka, but with various other demon slayers as well that try to attack and kill Nezuko, his sister demon. But before you know it, before a fight could really break out, Tanjiro would be in place to defend Nezuko, and the crows would tell them to leave Tanjiro and Nezuko unharmed and to allow them to come here on their own their own free will, in which they do just that. They head there and they speak with various Hashira, but the Hashira themselves, some of them, yes, they're against the usage of a demon themselves, but they also know that they need to well, let's just say, deal with the fact that they don't like it, because Tanjiro has a power that might just be their actual chance to stop everything bad from happening ever again. So when Ubuyashiki would eventually arrive and give the order that they are not to be touched, when finally he would get the order to basically not be hurt, let's just say Tanjiro is absolutely willing to understand and absolutely willing to speak more about his powers and strengths and all this other stuff, in which there's a long conversation that is had about what he can do, about why he could do it, and all this other stuff. Now, in all honesty, does he know what or how he can do it or how he does it or anything like that? Of course not. Like, he genuinely is like, I don't know. But at the same time, he can explain exactly what he does to an extent, in terms of like, you know, like just abilities and his kind of potential in general. And he explains all this stuff, explains the destruction, and explains what he's read. And there's even more and more journals and books that are actually needed to be read for Tanjiro, and that's so that they can gain more information on his potential and what he does and what his real role here is. And eventually that role is shown, the role of judge, jury, and executioner. Tanjiro is given this opportunity not to be abused in terms of like the usage of slaying demons so willy-nilly, but it's to truly uphold balance. And as long as he upholds balance with the eventual destruction of demons in its entirety, and not kind of like an overtime thing, it seems as if that right there is what needs to be done, and is going to be the reason why Tanjiro is the kind of next level and high kind of tier of demon slayer. And he might just be the actual reason why they live to see 100 years from now and are not overtaken by all the demons. But before you know it, he would be done with his rehabilitation training. He'd be doing various different trainings and studies on the idea of this destruction breathing. And it leads him to actually working and training with another Hashira, which they decide to send him on a mission with Inosuke and Zenitsu, believing that, well, if he trains and or kind of sees the POV of a Hashira in a way, and what he's capable of, and what really and truly goes on with being a Hashira, that it will be a good idea for him to actually to learn alongside someone like Rengoku, and learn alongside someone to that level. And that right there is the flat out truth. So Tanjiro, Inosuke, and Zenitsu would head off to the Mugen train to actually speak and actually learn from Rengoku. And before you know it, they're there to already be impressed, because Rengoku shows that he is this happy-go-lucky kind of person. But on top of that, he is an absolute bona fide beast of a demon slayer who slays this demon in front of all of them in a matter of seconds. Tanjiro nods his head in acknowledgement of the strength that Rengoku reveals, and he's excited to really kind of see what he can truly do and what Rengoku really brings to the table as a Hashira. And Rengoku himself, he wants to see what Tanjiro brings to the table as well, believing that he might just end up being the best of all of them. But with all that said, that is where we will end, part 1 of 2 of What If Tanjiro Had Destruction Breathing. Tanjiro Kamado is on the Mugen train, and he just watched Kyojuro Rengoku take down a demon that, yes, isn't the strongest in the world, but he did it so effortlessly and made him question why they think he's some sort of high-level next up-and-coming demon slayer. Like, he is the next up-and-coming slayer that needs to be kind of kind of watched and trained to a large extent. And he would wonder if they really need his potential if they have someone like Rengoku, if they have someone like Gyu Tomioka. How strong can these demons truly be? But that's obviously something that Izuku, or something that Tanjiro, excuse me, I keep doing that, I apologize. That's something that Tanjiro really needs to keep in mind, because soon, when everybody would fall asleep, but he would be the only one that isn't actually affected by the blood demon art, he would go spiraling forward, cutting through, destroying, and hakkaiing every single demon that shows up and every single tendril that is sent the way of him, in terms of, like the other demon. And eventually he would find where the demon would originate, and or where Enmu currently is at. And once he finds where Enmu is, he looks to kill the demon quickly, as he would cut through even the front part of the train itself, leading to the destruction of the entire demon in one foul swoop. In one foul swoop, he took out a high level demon, or at least one of the 12 Kizuki, in one singular blow. And he continues to prove that he is capable beyond what he imagines. And it seems as if he just defeated someone or something or some demon that was even stronger than Rui. And this right here puts him at a Hashira level. And let's just say the Demon Slayers are currently hearing news of him taking out Enmu by himself. And this really makes them realize that this person, this kid, Tanjiro Kamado, is exactly what they've been looking for. Exactly what's going to push them into the kind of the stratosphere that they're trying to get to the point where they eventually can defeat Muzan. And that right there is their end goal, their end all be all, and that is what they want. And this is proof that with some time and with some preparation, Tanjiro is the secret weapon that they will fear forever. And this, well, let's just say, would eventually lead to them prepping their own leave. They're about to actually leave and head back to the Hashira mansion, because everyone's saved, everyone's safe, and all that stuff, and everyone's all good to go. But then out of nowhere, they would hear a voice, they would feel a presence, and Tanjiro would smell something that would make even him shake just a little bit, make him just be afraid just a little bit. He would turn and he would see it, and he would turn and he would see Akaza. This right here would shock Tanjiro. He would immediately think that this demon, he's different, completely different, and he would point toward Tanjiro, basically telling him that he is coming for him. In which he would dash straight forward at him, going for the kill, as Tanjiro would pull out his sword ready to clash, as he would go to swing toward the demon, but Rengoku would pick it up. Rengoku would immediately clash with the demon and would go head to head with Akaza, but Akaza would be completely and utterly focused. He wouldn't be thinking, oh, I really want a good fight, I really want this. He's heard about this. He's seen the visions, and he's seen what this kid is. He needs to die right now. But in a way, this leaves openings for Rengoku as well, as Akaza's not even focusing necessarily on Rengoku. He's focusing mostly on Tanjiro. And immediately this would lead to Rengoku getting a slight upper hand, but Tanjiro would even swoop in and help him out as well. Rengoku telling him to stay away, don't enter this fight. He obviously wants to kill him. So if he takes the fight alone, then the chances of him getting hurt are far lower. But Tanjiro tells him that he's not going to allow him to just take on this burden alone. He is going to help out. He is going to do anything he possibly can to help out right here and right now. And at the end of the day, that's exactly what he believes needs to get done, and exactly what he believes needs to happen. So Tanjiro and Rengoku stand side by side and immediately clash. They clash heavily with obviously the one and only Akaza, and this is shocking for Akaza. He begins to see something, see what's going on, and he begins to understand that this kid is no joke, that he is actually far from anything that he could imagine, and he didn't know that it would be so difficult. He didn't know that things like this would go so wrong, because before you know it, that's exactly what's happening. Things begin to go off course. He begins to get hit more and more and more, and eventually something happens that would shock him to his core, as Tanjiro would land one slice as he cuts the arm off of Akaza, and he could feel this weird sensation, the sensation that is taking up his arm to the rest of his body, and it feels as if it's destroying itself. He doesn't know how it's happening, what's happening, or what's even going on, but Tanjiro is literally destroying Akaza from that one spot. Immediately, he would cut off the rest of his arm, trying to get it away from him, and he feels like he can regenerate once again. But it's still slow. It's not instant. It's not permanent. He doesn't know what's going on, but it feels like Tanjiro is having an effect on him that he doesn't get just yet. He doesn't understand just yet. Eventually, he finds his opening, though, and goes to land a blow to Tanjiro that will take him out and end him instantly. That's what he needs. He goes straight for the literal head of Tanjiro, and Tanjiro is wide-eyed and doesn't understand how this is, how is he going to dodge it, what is going to happen. And then out of nowhere, he reaches his hand out and he grabs Akaza's hand just as it's about to take his literal head off. And as Tanjiro grabs the hand, and as this happens, as they clash just enough, as he blocks just enough, well, Akaza's arm begins to disintegrate once again. It seems like there's an aura surrounding Tanjiro, a kind of this destruction aura that surrounds him, and soon we're seeing the body of Akaza slowly deteriorate, and Rengoku sees this as an opening that he will not allow go to waste, clashing and jumping straight into the battle, and he would go straight for the neck and go straight to immediately end Akaza. And with the help of Tanjiro and the help of the destruction that is slowly but surely disintegrating and destroying him, or destroying Akaza, this is soon the end. This is soon the end of Akaza himself. And it's shocking to think that they not only took out a member of the 12 Kizuki, but then they proceeded to take out the upper 3 moon that would have given them trouble beyond all measure. But with a Hashira beside him, and with some help in general, Tanjiro was able to actually take him out, and take him out with the help of obviously Inosuke and Zenitsu, staying back and staying out of the fight, but mostly the help of Rengoku as well. Zenitsu and Inosuke were basically told to stay the hell out of this fight, and so was Tanjiro to an extent, but Rengoku didn't have to protect or didn't have to really do anything major, and luckily enough, this gave them a chance to actually defeat Akaza. But as he's defeated, as the head of Akaza lays clattered on the ground, Akaza would begin to stand up as he could feel this sense of regeneration, like he could regenerate his head back once again, and he begins to keep fighting, and they honestly try to fend him off, Rengoku getting hurt or wounded to an extent, and so would Tanjiro when he's not able to really sense this actually occurring. But eventually the body of Akaza would slowly deteriorate into this purple-like aura and turn into dust itself, and Akaza would not be reporting back to Muzan, as he would die right then and there. And it seems like the only reason why Akaza didn't take that next step, didn't take that step into actually getting stronger, better, and all the above, and becoming basically an unkillable demon, well, the reason why is because he lost the fight. he felt like he technically had a fair fight and he lost it. He's not going to, take it all back. He's not going to go and be like, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to keep fighting. I'm going to do this. No, he believes in an honorable death or an honorable fight. So he's not going to kind of dismay that. He's going to stay exactly there. And that's what he does. He takes the loss, and he takes the loss on the chin, and he disappears into nothingness and heads off, obviously, to the afterlife. This would lead to Tanjiro, Rengoku, Zenitsu, and Inosuke heading back to the Hashira mansion, and the crows themselves would sing and yell that Akaza, upper 3 moon, was defeated. A defeat of such a high-level demon would have to put these demons on the back foot, but on top of that, they point toward Tanjiro and tell him that the training for him to become a Hashira now is about to begin. Because there is no waiting, there is no, potential that he could somehow get killed in the line of duty, and it's not worth the risk. And Tanjiro basically says, like, what if they need help? What if this and this? And they were like, no, don't worry about it. We're going to handle it. We're going to handle, what we got to handle. And they tell everybody that this is where the training is going to begin, and he begins to go through some absolute rigorous training that is all instituted by various different Hashira, and this training is beyond anything that he's ever done before, sparring with some of the best Hashira and sparring with people like Tengen, with Muchiro, with Giyu, and so many more, but also going through insane physical training from Guillaume and many others, and he continues to push himself more and more and more, but it's all just him, solo training and being directed toward a certain location. But he would finish off his training, after all of this is said and done, he would finish off his training with the one person that trained him in the beginning, and that's Urokodaki. He would get help from Urokodaki, and he would get help just learning as much as possible, and honestly granting him any knowledge that he could possibly know and possibly learn. And this would basically take place over the course of multiple months. And during this time, Inosuke, Zenitsu, and also Tengen would actually head off to fight a demon, or find his wives and end up fighting a demon. And fight, we know the demons that we're talking about being that of Daki and Gyutaro. And luckily enough, since Zenitsu and Inosuke have been around Tanjiro so much, trying to keep up with him is something they've been trying to do for a very long time. So this leads to them being actually quite a bit stronger and a little bit more prepared. So they're actually in a better spot to actually level up. But when Tanjiro hears that they're fighting Daki and Gyutaro, two pretty decently strong demons, Tanjiro immediately makes his way out there wanting to help. But so does someone else, a different Hashira as well, basically is coming out to clean up the mess, or at least they're trying to get there to clean up the mess. And this is OpenEye. And they would both head out to this entertainment district, and as they're heading over to the entertainment district, they finally would and eventually would arrive. And as they arrive, they would see that the battle is basically at its climax, and Tengen, Inosuke, and Zenitsu would be finishing off this fight and just barely winning it, as well. Tengen is severely injured by poison and all of the above, and this is when actually Nezuko would hop out of her box, run over toward him, and even utilize the powers that she's been gaining from, yes, literally the presence of Tanjiro himself, would lead to the heal of him, or the healing of him. But it's nothing insane. She cures him from the blood, or the poison and all of those things. But other than that, it's like he's out of it still. He no longer can be really doing much. He can't really, be a part of this life anymore. He can't really be a part of becoming or being the same Hashira / Demon Slayer he's always been. So yes, we do gain Rengoku back once again, or we do regain Rengoku back instead of losing him. But Tengen would still go through some pretty brutal scenarios, leading to him retiring as well, which Obanai disagrees with. But Tanjiro says that if he believes that he needs to retire, then he needs to do so. And Obanai basically has a small argument with Tanjiro, saying that just because you are up and coming into being a Hashira doesn't mean you can bark orders or give opinions, in which Tanjiro tells him that it's not an opinion, it's a fact. If he doesn't feel like he can do this anymore, if we put him out in those front lines, all he will do is die. And the last thing that anybody wants, and last thing that Tanjiro even wants, is to watch somebody that they care about pass on in the feat of battle, especially when he has people that care about him as well, aka the 3 wives that are literally there trying to help him and protect him and do all that nonsense. And of course, Obanai would be a little annoyed by this, but then would eventually just leave, and Tanjiro would nod his head toward them and would even tell Zenitsu and Inosuke that what they did was very impressive, but they have room to grow. They all do. In which they continue to do so, continue training, continue preparing, and Tanjiro even gets a chance to actually train in the Swordsmith's village with the Yorichi Type 0, and also just kind of working and also talking and also getting to know various different people like Mitsuri and also Genya, someone who's, well, absolutely shredded now, but someone who he also broke his arm and, you know, all the above. Now, with that being said, though, it seems as if Muzan wants to find one singular way. Muzan wants to find one way out and one way to stop all of this from occurring. So he sends demons the way of the Swordsmith's village, believing that as long as they destroyed the village, as long as they eliminated so many of these the swordsmiths, it would be beneficial, it would be helpful. So they would send Hantengu and also Gyoko in to actually take them out, which Muchiro would take on Gyoko, and Hantengu would take on Tanjiro, Nezuko, Genya, and Mitsuri. But in this time, Tanjiro is far more prepared than anything, and when the first version of Hantengu would even show up, he would slice into him, and the destruction that would incur throughout his body would eliminate him before he could even think about transforming into another form. Before he can even try to become those different versions of himself, Tanjiro would have him dispelled quicker than you would imagine, and not too long after that, Muchiro would take on and defeat Gyoko in a flash of glory, and this would take out so many of the powerful demons that they've had. And this would obviously be the case, and they would help out clean up the Swordsmith's village and do this, and Nezuko would be a big part of this as well. And as they're doing this, Tanjiro isn't necessarily paying that much attention. He actually has Nezuko in her box, or at least thought he did for a while, but she's actually out helping the villagers, leading to the sun eventually rising. And as the sun rises, she actually gets a part of her body caught within the sun. But as it's caught within the sun, she feels it burning, but then out of nowhere, it would stop. And then this is when everybody would look her way, look her direction, and think, what is happening? What's going on? In which he would walk over to her and tell her to come out, and come out from the tree. And as she walks out, the sun would start burning parts of her, but then it would stop. It would then regenerate, and he would be in shock, thinking that whatever this is, she just conquered it. That she is no longer, well, killable by the sun. And this would make everything change, because this would make Muzan believe that Nezuko is the way to conquer what is going on, what is happening. But Muzan realizes that he has lost so many. He has lost so many demons. He lost Akaza. He lost so many when sending various demons to different locations. And now, yes, he has capable demons, but how capable are they truly? How prepared are they truly? He wonders. He wonders closely to himself, does he really do this? Should he prepare for the hunt for Nezuko? Should he hunt her down and try to cure himself from the sunlight itself? Or does he need to wait? Does he need to prepare himself? Because in all honesty, he sees this one person. He sees this demon slayer. He sees Tanjiro Kamado, and he now understands what fear is. It's all written once again. He understands that it all happened a long time ago. That Yoriichi was here once before, and Yoriichi was the reason why he had to go away for so long. Why he was cut up into so many pieces and he was destroyed, absolutely obliterated, and he needed to gain his strength back again. And he realizes that this right here, this is a chance for him to hide away once again, at least until Tanjiro no longer exists. But as he's doing this, as this is happening, and as he's hiding away, believing this to be the only choice that really makes sense and the only choice that would allow him to continue on, the demon slayers, the Hashira, they are slaying demon after demon. And on top of that, they're also doing one other thing, and that's finding a cure for Nezuko. Finding a cure, and on top of that, even gaining more and more, or gaining more and more strength for the cure itself, and prepping more and more so that future generations will never fall. But the thing is, Muzan has time on his side. If he decides to wait, if he decides to just wait, prepare, and hide for a long time until Tanjiro is no longer existing, well, there might just be a thought where he can take over Nezuko. But what he doesn't know is that Nezuko herself is actually no longer a demon. And he lost a big chance to actually stop this. But the thing is waiting for the eventual death of Tanjiro, well, it might seem like a good idea in theory. It might seem like the only option he has. But when he does, and when Tanjiro would eventually pass on, another person is bound to inherit the power of destruction and the strength of the gods themselves. And he will still have to wait for another demon to be able to conquer the sun. And all of this, all of it, may never even happen. And Muzan might just find himself in a loop of pure creation and destruction. But that is where this what if is going to end. That is where the what if Tanjiro had destruction breathing comes to an end. But if you guys enjoyed, please show some love. Leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment down below. All that good stuff. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to show all the love you possibly can to the video itself. And I hope you all have an amazing day. Later.